Welcome to Daniel's Inferno. My name is Daniel. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, share, and join the conversation below. I'd love to hear from you. So today's video is actually going to be about Tommy Robinson once again. It's not going to be on the same subject as the last video. That subject was, well, that's not true. He's back in the news. It's not the exact same thing. I'd actually like to give you a bit of some background on what's going on with him recently. He had Ezra Levant, who is the owner and founder of Rebel Media, come down to his trial yesterday. So he had some support there. The two of them are actually very close. They've been close for quite some time, almost as long as I've been following Tommy. Tommy used to work for Rebel. So as you can see on my screen, Tommy Robinson was sued by a Syrian schoolboy he accused of assault. You can see right above that this article is more than 9 months old. So everything I'm sharing is public knowledge. I'm not, naming anyone who hasn't already been named, who isn't already known about. Please, I beg you, do not ever send hate, violence, or anything towards either of the people. That is the antithesis of how we are ever going to solve our differences. And by being violent towards either side, you just make your point less salient. So back in November 2018, this article is from May 2019, but this all started in November 2018. There was a video that was shared, and Theresa May actually commented on it herself. It was this young Syrian schoolboy who was being bullied at school. This young man, Jamal Hijazi, uh, had apparently been a target of bullying for quite some time at his school. Tommy Robinson made some comments about this, claiming that the video in question that people were outraged about, there was backstory to it that wasn't being talked about. There was another side of the story. And of course, there are always two sides of the story. Sometimes how people originally and may still see how this all came out, no one cared about the other side. They just saw this young Syrian refugee boy at a school being picked on and bullied. And obviously that's terrible. Don't, many of us have been through bullying, but it was violent, apparently very, very persistent. That's not okay. Tommy, however, claimed, and through this trial that he's now in right now, we will find out the facts of it all. But Tommy claimed that he has counterclaimants who are saying that this was basically in retribution, vengeance, or defense of actions that this young boy had taken. So, a Syrian schoolboy who was filmed being attacked in a playground in Huddersfield is suing Tommy Robinson for accusing him of assaulting white schoolgirls. The 16-year-old has filed papers to the High Court seeking libel action against the founder of the EDL after he was alleged to have peddled false and defamatory lies about the schoolboy. I just like to say quickly, when Tommy founded the EDL, the English Defence League, he was a very young man. He was in his early 20s, I believe. And, you know, it's not, the EDL has a shady past and it did some things that were very wrong. But at what point do we allow retribution? At what point do we allow forgiveness? And what point do we allow people back in? And that's actually been a big part of what I've been trying to learn about from other people on YouTube is they've asked that very same question. So Sargon of Akkad or Tim Pool, they've both kind of made the claim that, so like when looking at someone like Alex Jones, when does he get allowed back into the conversation? He was sued. However, those court cases happened. They were dealt with, and he faced punishment or not for his actions. At what point does he allowed back into you know, the public conversation? Hours after the video went viral last November, Robinson claimed on Facebook that Jamal had previously attacked 3 school girls and a boy. The Oh God. Now apparently he's an anti-Islam activist whose real name is Stephen Yaxley-Lennon. Ooh, careful, scary. Reposted a screenshot of a message on his Facebook page from a mother claiming her daughter had been bullied. However, the mother later posted on Robinson's page that Jamal had attacked her daughter. In a series of posts, Robinson accused Jamal of not being that innocent and claimed that he had hit a girl with a hockey stick and that lots of Muslim gangs are beating up white English kids in Britain. Robinson's Facebook page has more than a million followers, and the posts on the Huddersfield incidents were viewed up to 900,000 times each. So if we take this situation with Yamal out of the picture for a moment and we look at Tommy's statement that lots of Muslim gangs are beating up white English kids, well, that's actually a factual statement. I'm sorry if we don't, you know, if by identifying different qualities of a consensus or of a majority of a group, and I'm not saying all Muslims, but I'm saying many of these gangs in the UK who are raping and attacking and just brutalizing these young women, many of them have similar characteristics, and many of them have stated that there was a religious motivation behind what they did in their court hearings and everything. And so just by identifying that, that does not make you an anti-Islamic or an anti this or that. You know, that's like saying when you point out the Westboro Baptist Church, which is just a extremely loony Christian sect, and it's mostly one guy and his family for the most part. And you know, they go after different soldiers' funerals and they pick at them and say horrid things, and they're terrible. But it's like saying that what me pointing that out is being anti-Christian, which is not the case at all. I am not characterizing an entire group, and I have, in my experience at least, I have not seen Tommy characterize an entire group. So I'm sorry, but I will have to rebuke the claim that he is an anti-Islam activist. Sorry. You can please let me know if you agree or disagree, but that's my opinion. So Robinson said he violently attacked young English girls in his school. Why is this kid being portrayed as the ultimate victim in the entire country? Robertson was subsequently banned from Facebook and Instagram for repeatedly breaking policies of hate speech. Facebook said he had broken rules that banned public calls for violence. Members of the public have donated money to help fund the most recent legal action against Robinson. Jamal said that following Robinson's post, he and his family had faced increased threats and had been forced to move out of Huddersfield. Let me say, people that were or are sending threats, if by chance you happen across this video or hear any of these words, that's terrible. You should not be sending threats because all you're doing, if you actually support Tommy, what you're doing is you're hurting his cause. You're hurting what he's trying to do. You're tainting his message. And by doing that, you galvanize people against you instead of trying to find a common ground so that we can come to a common goal. And in the UK's case, that would be the elimination of these grooming gangs. That's a very big problem in the UK at the moment. And I'd assume that everyone, regardless of political spectrum, can probably agree, I'd hope at least, that these grooming gangs should be, eradicated. But by being violent, by threats, all of these things, all you are doing is tainting that message. You are making yourselves look like the bad guy. In fact, you are being the bad guy. You're not just making yourself look like that. You're doing something wrong. He added, he has broken the law, and I hope the courts agree with us. When he put those posts up, he was okay. Uh, a solicitor who represents Jamal and his family said we are lodging Jamal's claim for damage as against us, Tommy, with the court today. The claim flows from defamatory comments in the latter part of 2018, like I said earlier. So the case was referred back to the AG, who said in March that it was in the public interest to bring fresh proceedings against Robinson. Robinson could be sent back to. Okay. So that's how this all in the last couple of days. That is the backstory to why Tommy is back in the courts recently. And so now So this is the hearing itself. This is an article by the BBC yesterday about, so this is the video of Jamal being bullied. And again, it's terrible. I'm not going to show it. Comments by Tommy over a film showing the Syrian refugee being attacked led to far-right activists targeting the boy's family, the High Court heard. So this was obviously Jamal's solicitor. Video showing Jamal Hijazi, then age 16, being pushed and threatened by another pupil was shared online in 2018. Tommy commented on the video. Okay, we heard this. Okay, here we go. Tommy claimed that the teenager beat a girl black and blue and threatened to stab another boy. Serious allegations. At a preliminary hearing, the boy's barrister, Ian Helm, told the court Mr. Robinson's comment meant Jamal was a violent individual who was part of a gang that committed numerous acts of violence against schoolgirls. I mean, I don't see him saying that he was part of a gang, personally. That wasn't even alluded to me at least in the comments. The barrister said the comments, which Jamal emphatically denies, had led to targeting of the family. That's terrible again. His client did not deny making serious allegations in order to bring them to the attention of the world. So that's Tommy's solicitor saying that. He said the video was interpreted on social media as an example of racist bullying, which led to a massive social media witch hunt of the alleged assailant. However, he said Mr. Robinson was trying to present the other side of the story, that in fact the claimant had been violent towards other children and that there was a background to the incident which was not being talked about. That's true. I'm sorry, but that's a fact. There's always two sides of a story, and no one was listening or cared to hear the other side because it looked like they shouldn't care. That's how it was portrayed. Mr. Bennett asked the court to find the meaning of the comments was that the claimant has committed acts of violence against children. That's all I got out of it, seriously. So apparently he's being sued for 100K in damages. And then obviously, like usual, we'll look at Twitter. We'll see, how people are interpreting this. As I said, Tommy had Ezra Levant. Here we go. I have just learned that the lawyers for the Syrian boy suing Tommy billed 33,000 today for today's 45-minute hearing. I kid you not. And that will be foist on Tommy if they win. That's insane. Racist fraud, thug, and habitual criminal Tommy Robinson is in court today for harassment and libeling a boy called Jamal. He's a reminder of Robinson the thug inciting violence. Rancid hate goblin Tommy Robinson's racial slur about Syrian refugee made him a playground target. I just, as you can see, I'm almost lost for words in terms of how people are coming across. Say what you see, presses buzzard, a deluded Tommy Robinson fanboy. That's $50 in the bank for Marshall. What? Okay. So then there's somebody else here pointing out that Tommy had an expensive shirt on, like that's any of his business at all. I'm trying to find a comment, and I may have lost it, unfortunately, but there were at least a handful of them. I don't want to see quite a few. Let's just look at this quickly here. One only has to look at these faces to see that England has a serious problem that police were too timid to deal with until it was too late, but they bravely jailed Tommy Robinson for speaking truth. No wonder respect for the law steadily drops. I mean, again, there's a common theme, unfortunately, with many of these people who are being jailed for the grooming gangs. And only by talking about that fact are we ever going to come to a common conclusion and a common ground on how to deal with it. And it's unfortunate that in today's society, you know, everyone seems to think that coming to a common ground is either impossible or a pipe dream or shouldn't even happen. There's one more thing I'd like to point out that I don't understand. I I see all these girls who are like posting random stuff about like sexual innuendos and things, but they're hashtagging Tommy Robinson in it. I don't get it. If you know why, let me know. Um, well, I don't think I'm gonna find the comment I was looking for, unfortunately. Um, the comment was basically someone going after Ezra Levant for his religious background, and it's something that happens quite often. And again, I don't think we should ever go after anyone for their religious beliefs or any of their beliefs. In fact, we should go after them for how they act. And we should definitely be wary for dangerous beliefs. I'm not saying that, but you don't get to unilaterally decide what a dangerous belief is. And a lot of people today think you can. A lot of people have labeled Tommy and his ideals and the things he is trying to accomplish as dangerous. And I understand, at least to some respect, why there is a measure of that. When people are sending threats or being violent or any of these things, again, that shouldn't happen. That's wrong. But, you know, I think it was Tommy was banned from Twitter. I don't know if it was Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, but one of the three he was banned from for allegedly calling on his followers to go and do something to the followers of the Islamic faith. Take the head off, if you get my drift. And there was no proof, at least from what I could see, that he ever made that claim. And Tim Pool, again, Sargon of Akkad, these people have asked for proof, have asked for some sort of evidence of these claims, and have yet to receive any of it. And again, you can't don't ever unilaterally just place someone in a corner, because that is how, if they do have bad ideas, that is how they fester, that is how they grow. That's just my opinion. And when it comes to Tommy, we will see if Tommy can provide the evidence that he claimed that this young man had been violent to other kids and there was a backstory behind what was going on, then I don't think his remarks are liable. I don't think they're lies. I don't think it's slander. I don't think any of that. But it is up to Tommy for that burden of proof. We will see how that goes. I obviously, as a fan of Tommy, I have faith that he will bring that burden of proof forward. It is then up to the courts to decide. And again, we are every day we're getting closer to April. Try to be there for Tommy, for that nonce who went after his poor daughter, and keep sending your prayers and your love towards his family while they go through all of this difficult times. They need our faith. They need the strength that we can provide them more than ever. So thank you all for watching today. Have a wonderful night.